Well, as a coach, you know, the more you watch it, the more it bothers you. You know, so I would say when you watch it the first time, it's like, yeah, it's about what we saw live. And then when you watch it the second, third time, you know, you see even other things that you can control. But, you know, watching it 100 times isn't going to change what happened. It's about learning from what happened. And we watched most of the game as a team. Took a long time, but, you know, we needed to stop and rewind and talk about some situations and try to get the guys talking about certain things. And I think that was productive. And then we just practiced, literally just got done, and you know, started preparing for Kansas State.
What do you think they see when they watch the film?
I think they see. Well, I know they see a lot of the things that we see because we make sure we point it out. You know, the biggest challenge right now, I think, with a lot of our guys is trying to learn how to carry over exactly what it is that goes into being successful as a team, but then also trying to reconcile that with really wanting to play well individually. And, you know, I think with experience, guys get better at that, but sometimes if your mind is on multiple things, it can be hard to do both of those things or more than one thing at a high level at the same time. So, you know, we need to simplify what we're trying to do in the moment down to one thing. And that's something that we got to keep getting better at.
Are some of them fearing that bad things are going to happen in the last minute in some of these close games?
I don't think just in the last minute, but I think that in general. I said this to them last night. I think I might have mentioned it in the post game. Our fear. On the standpoint of from the perspective of some of our guys, is backwards. There should be a fear of Kent State getting offensive rebounds going into the game because they're the number one offensive rebounding team in the country. There should be a fear, and fear might not be the right word, but a healthy concern to take these things away. You know, some of the really good things that Kansas State does as a team. A guy like DJ Johnson, how big and physical and strong and aggressive he is. There should be a real awareness, and a guy I used to work with, Larry Shyatt, used to always say worry. There needs to be a worry about that. But now when you get out there, having a level of confidence and belief in yourself and your team because of what you've done in practice, because of the training you've done, that if you follow your plan, you're going to be able to take those things away and you're going to be able to counteract those things. Also knowing that basketball is a game of mistakes, so you don't have to play perfect. You know, there's going to be times where you miss shots. There's going to be times where the other team scores. You know, nobody wins 50-0. You know, the other team's going to score some points. That's okay. They just can't score more than you. And obviously, last night, Kent State scored 5 more than us. I think the fear that you're getting at is when things weren't going our way and we missed some shots. Now it's, you know, what if the next play doesn't go our way? And that's something that we have to get better at, going out and just playing. I think, you know, when you have an avoidance about you, whether it's in basketball or in anything, it's hard to be your best, because you're trying to avoid something bad happening.
Shaka, you mentioned that confidence and belief. Is that a fine line right now? You obviously want to coach them hard after last night, but you want to make sure going into the Big 12 play they believe in themselves?
No question. It's a very fine line, and with young guys, they're still finding themselves in terms of true confidence. Because I think part of what happens is, as a player, you might have a little bit of a skewed perspective relative to the rest of the country, basketball-wise, in terms of where you stand before the season starts. And then sometimes you get in a game like last night, it's like, you know, wow, who's that guy? He just went out and kicked our butt, and I'd never even heard of him. And you know, so there's a lot of guys like that in college basketball. There's a lot of good players that are better than maybe their name might indicate, or the name even on the front of their jersey might indicate. So we can't go by that. You know, I've always said, you know, the opponent should be nameless and faceless. It's not about the name or the face. It's about what they can do. If they offensive rebound, it doesn't matter what their name is or what their face looks like. It's about what they can do. So, yeah, to your point, we definitely, it's a fine line, because it can't be, you know, you're no good. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think the message is more, if we want to win, if we want to do all the things we say we want to do, we have to do what goes into it. We have to, you know, you got to go hit someone to keep him from getting a rebound, if you want to get the rebound. And we've got to be more consistent with doing the things that go into success.
Have you ever had a group that's been so kind of up and down in those areas, in terms of, you know, having clarity at times, and then other times it's just completely different? And what kind of challenges does that put on y'all as a staff? No,
I mean, for me, this is a unique experience. This is my 8th year as a head coach, and this year it's just a different type of group. But I think every year is, but this is definitely, you know, freshmen playing a lot more. Our 3 sophomores being kind of put in a role that, you know, some might say is even asking them to do too much or more than, you know, most guys at that stage should have to do. But that's the reality of it. And then, you know, right now, just having, you know, 2 seniors playing that were really in role positions before, and now needing and asking and wanting them to do more. But those guys, they just did a great job in practice. So now that doesn't win you the game. You know, it's about carrying it over to the game, and it's about being connected around what we have to do. And I think for the younger guys, it's gaining a level of certainty. You know, when you've been doing this for a while as a player, and even some of the real elite freshmen, they're pretty sure. You know, we don't have a lot of guys that are sure right now. And I think there's been moments, to your point, Dustin, where we've come across that way, or we've had stretches where we're that way. But we need to be a lot more consistent with that individually and as a team.
Shaka, as you look for things to build around, what do you say right now? Okay, this is what we are really good at, and we can build off of that.
It's more what Dustin said. We're really good at certain things for a time,
Right.
but
Nothing you can take to the bank yet.
no, I think there's individual guys who have made real strides. I think obviously Tevin, you know, didn't have a very good game last time out, but he's become, you know, a pretty dependable scorer. You know, Jarrett's made real progress. I think his last 3 games he's really taken a step. Kerwin Roach, I think, is making real strides. All of our freshmen are just, it's not a linear progression, so it can be up and down. But you know, we've had our moments, Brian, where we really defend well. You know, our field goal percentage defense on most nights has been good. But again, the thing about a game like last night is when you're shooting the ball poorly, not only did we go 2 for 18 from 3, but if you add in the mid-range jump shots that we took, you know, it's more like 2 for 24. But when you shoot that poorly, your margin for error on defense is much smaller. So even though Kent State only shot, I think, 37%, you still have to be better on defense in a situation like that. You still have to move your feet and take away some of the layups they got coming out of the press and some of the offensive rebounds that they got.
You mentioned kind of in passing, I think, earlier, to the expectations are placed on this group by rankings or whatever before the year. I remember you said then that you didn't buy into them. But is it kind of a shock to the system, do you think, for some of the guys to know that a month or so ago they were considered that, and now they're in a situation where it's much different, the outlook?
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about that a lot. I would ask those guys, but I would say probably. Unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, we're in a sport where there's a lot of hype, going into the year or even during the season. There's a lot made of what people think is going to happen, or what might happen, or what's projected to happen, and not just in college basketball. High school basketball, AAU, NBA draft, all these things are projected and prognosticated about the NCAA tournament. But the reality is, never forget, one time I was working for Billy Donovan, and he put on a horse race for the team. I forget what it was, Kentucky Derby or some horse race, and he did some stuff beforehand where he showed like which horse was favored, what the odds were, jockeys, all these different factors. And he started the race on the video, and he watched it, and with teams watching it, teams starting to get into it, okay, who's going to win? And then he paused it halfway through, and he said, who's going to win? And he says, it's going to be the horse that has the best odds. Is it going to be the horse that has had the most earnings so far? The horse that has the best jockey? Guys were all guessing. And the answer is, we said, no, it's going to be the horse that runs the fastest. That's who's going to win. So, the team that played the best last night won. The team on Friday night that plays the best is going to win on offense and defense. All that stuff goes out the window when that race starts or that game starts. And that, to your point, for young guys can be a shock to the system, because I do think there sometimes is a little bit of a notion that, hey, this is supposed to happen, maybe because of what people have said or what people have written, or a number next to your name as a team, or a number next to your name as an individual. But we all know that those things only serve to motivate opponents. So that's a lesson that guys are going to have to learn, and that's something that individually we've talked about.
You can do the reset button thing as motivation, I guess, this week with the start of Big 12 play. What are you selling right now as you get ready to head to K-State?
I don't know about selling. I mean, what we're talking about is the opportunity to win. We want to go win. Anytime you play a game, you're trying to go up there and win, and you're going into a hostile environment against a really, really good team, a team that has a lot of weapons. I think they have 6 guys that are averaging either at double figures or really close to it. So they're not a team where you can just say, hey, we're going to focus on this one guy. But yeah, that's our focus, is understanding that league play starts. We're starting on the road, and we've got a golden opportunity to go up there and see how good we can be. Obviously, we're going to have to play a lot better than we did last night. Our guys know that. I know that. And that's what our focus is.
In a way, is there any way, to start a Big 12 play can be a positive for these guys from the standpoint of you don't have to worry about the names on the jersey or anything like that? It's just a different understood intensity level.
Well, it better be. I mean, because it is a higher intensity level. It is a higher competition level. There is more on the line. And that's conference play anywhere, not just in the Big 12, but particularly in the Big 12 because of, just the nature of this league only being 10 teams and everyone, every atmosphere you go in being really tough and every team you play against being very good. But, yeah, there should be a heightened level of respect for opponents because I'll be honest, as a coach, I've not maybe coached one or two teams that have truly bought into that whole nameless, faceless opponent thing. Most teams you coach, they're going to get up more for, those bigger opponents, and this should certainly be that, with us starting league play.
When this conference schedule first came out, I thought it might have benefited y'all to get at K-State and at Iowa State. 2 hard trips out of the way early. Now I don't know if it's better to start at home, or does it matter to you how the order comes?
Yeah, you got to play 9 at home and 9 on the road, and I think to your point about kind of what would be best, it's easier to do that kind of in the present or in looking back in retrospect. Man, that would have been nice if we'd have like last year, DeMarcus Holland had a death in the family right around this time, and it was you don't want to play anyone during those times, but it just was kind of unlucky with the way the schedule fell. But I think going on the road, it certainly will be a challenge, and I think that's a good thing. The reality is, you get in situations like we're in where we're coming off a game like last night, and it really tells you what you're about. And I know this, that group of guys in there, based on the way they're practicing, I feel good about that group of guys turning into a really good team. The question is when, and we play a really good team on Friday. So we don't have the luxury of, waiting on that long term. We need that to happen sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep working to be the best we can be and make sure that our guys understand exactly what they have to do.
There's no magic wand to accelerate that process to become a good team, but what do you think is maybe the 1 or 2 main things that can kind of unlock the quicker process as it relates to that?
To be honest with you, the number one thing that we can do, and this is the only way you go win big games on the road in league play or even at home, is our guys have to get together in a room with no one else there and look each other in the eye and say, here's what we're going to go do. And everyone has to say, yeah. And then it's not just in that moment, it's being able to stay with it over time. And then our job as coaches is to try to guide them and support them in that. And, as a coach, you try to create those moments or maybe, encourage it. But at the end of the day, it's a group of guys coming together. And like I always say, if they can care about each other and what goes into winning that specific game more than anything else for those 2 hours, then, man, that's the team that we all want to see.